A lot of roofers are out here thinking that their job is to sell the next big roof replacement project. I don't always see it that way. And honestly, that mindset can be one of the biggest reasons that some roofing contractors never really become truly valuable to property managers, to ownership groups, or to investors. The way I see it is roofing is one of the only trades that does not usually directly increase the value of a multifamily community. Now, I know that sounds crazy coming from a roofer. I roofed since 2004, but landscaping can improve curb appeal. Fresh paint can improve an appearance. It can even change the color, of course. But unit remodels can drive rents up because you're getting away from, let's say, carpet and putting hardwood floors in. You're getting rid of white appliances and putting stainless appliances, putting granite countertops in, but adding a gym to a community or putting in a dog park or adding other amenities can create a more marketable property. Those things create obvious upside. But a roof usually does not make a building worth more just because it's a new roof. So if you're a roofing contractor trying to serve property managers and ownerships groups, something that you should understand is just something deeper. Your value is not always in replacing the roof. Sometimes your value is in helping ownership protect cash, extend the life of a roof, preserve the NOI, and improve the way that that property performs during a disposition. And when you learn how to speak that way, when you stop sounding just like another roofer, you can actually start sounding like an asset partner. And I think that most roofers are trained to see everything through just one lens. The roof is old, the roof has problems, the roof needs to be replaced. Sometimes that's completely true. Sometimes it needs to have a roof done. Sometimes replacement's really the only right answer. Sometimes delaying it is the dumbest move that you can make. But that's not every situation. A lot of roofs can be repaired. A lot of roofs can be maintained. A lot of roofs can have their life extended far beyond what most people think is possible. And that's where I think the industry misses the bigger opportunity, because if you can keep a roof performing safely and effectively through maintenance and repairs, you may be helping that owner do something that's so much more powerful than buying a roof from you in the immediate short term. You may be helping them keep capital available for another part of the property that gives them a much bigger ROI. That matters, especially when you're dealing with people who think like investors. And if you want to work with property managers and ownership groups, serious operators, you need to understand what they care about. They care about protecting the income that they have coming in. They care about controlling expenses. They care about reducing risk. They care about preserving cash. They care about improving the property's performance and maximizing the value at either a refi or a sale. That's where cap rate and NOI really start to matter. Now, I'm not trying to turn every single roofing contractor that's watching this video into a finance expert overnight, but just let's go through the basic language. NOI means net operating income. That's basically the income a property produces after operating expenses. A cap rate is one of the ways buyers determine value. It's very simple. Property value is often looked at like in a simple equation. The value equals NOI divided by the cap rate. That means even relatively small changes in NOI can have a huge impact on the valuation of the building. So let's bring this back to roofing. If an owner has to dump a huge amount of cash into a roof replacement right now, that may prevent them from putting money into upgrades that can actually increase rents, improve occupancy, and create stronger income for the building. But if you can help them safely extend the life of that roof through strategic repairs, through strategic maintenance, they can then allocate some of that capital somewhere else. That somewhere else may have a 2x, 3x, 4x, some of it even 5x return or better than the roof itself. This is a completely different conversation that you can have than, hey, your roof is old, let's replace it. What I want you to understand is a roof doesn't usually create value the same way that renovation does, but roofing expertise can absolutely support valuation. How? You can be reducing stress on a specific deal. You could be reducing perceived risk by helping ownership avoid a major capital hit at the wrong time by preserving cash so that it can be deployed into higher return improvements and by giving buyers confidence that the asset has been managed properly. That matters during a disposition. Because when a property is going to market, buyers are looking for problems. They're looking for deferred maintenance. They're looking for surprise costs. They're looking for reasons to be able to renegotiate. They're looking for leverage. And one of the easiest things for a buyer to point out is a roof. If the roof is a mess, they use it against the seller. If the roof is neglected, they use that against the seller. If the roof looks like a major near-term replacement is needed, they use that against the seller. So while the roof itself may not directly spike the building's value, like, upgrading some units or some flashy improvement, your expertise can actually help the roof from being a value killer. That's a huge distinction. You're not always creating an upside. Sometimes you're protecting the downside. And in the investment world, that's incredibly valuable. Let's make this super practical. Let's say that an owner is looking at a property and the roof replacement's around $500,000, 500 grand. Most roofers walk in and they say, you need a new roof. And they might be right. They may not be. But let's say the roof can actually be maintained. It could be repaired. It could be stabilized for a fraction of that cost over a meaningful period of time. Now, instead of forcing that owner to spend $500,000 immediately on that roof, you help them preserve that capital. What can they do with it? Maybe they can renovate units. Maybe they can improve common areas. Maybe they can fix other exterior issues that are going to actually improve leasing. Maybe they make upgrades that allow them to increase rent now that the property NOI starts to go up. And once the NOI goes up, the value can move in a major way. So let's say that they use that preserved capital in another area of the property and creates an additional $100,000 a year in annual NOI. If that asset is trading at a 5 cap rate, that increase in NOI represents around a $2 million bump in valuation. That's the kind of math owners and investors really start paying attention to. Now compare that to the roofer who just pushed the replacement without understanding the bigger picture. Again, I'm not saying that never replace the roof. What I'm saying is understand the roof, the role that the roof actually plays in the larger business strategy. The mindset makes you more useful. It makes you more referable. That mindset makes property managers trust you so much more than everybody else walking through their door, because now you're helping them think through capital allocation. You're not just talking squares, you're talking about actually serving them. This is also why I say one of the fastest ways for building owners to spread your name around town is that when they believe that this roofer isn't just trying to sell me a roof replacement, that this roofer is actually trying to protect the valuation of my building. It's a completely different type of reputation. That's how you become the guy they call early. That's how you become the guy that they ask for input before they make decisions. That's how you become the roofer that they introduce to other investors and other building owners. Owners talk, property managers talk. And when they find someone who says, I've got your back, I'm going to help protect this roof from needing to be replaced, if it makes sense, that gets their attention. Now, does that make you popular with every single roofer? Probably not. And a lot of roofers hate that this is the kind of talk that I do, because the entire industry is trained on chasing replacement dollars. But I think that's exactly why this message matters, because if you want to separate yourself, you cannot sound like everybody else. You need to be the contractor who understands how the assets work. You need to be the contractor who understands ownership pressure. You need to be the contractor who understands that the best answer for the client is not always the fastest sale for the roofer. It's credibility. Credibility compounds. Let's look at a takeaway that I think about. I want contractors to understand this. A roof replacement does not usually increase the value the same way that property improvement do. But your trade expertise will have a major impact on valuation, not because you magically make the roof produce income, but because you help ownership extend the life of the roof. You help avoid unnecessary capital expenditures. You help preserve cash. You help protect NOI. You reduce buyer objections. You allocate money into areas that generate stronger ROI, stronger returns. And that's how roofing becomes a part of the disposition strategy. That's how you stop being viewed as just another contractor. That's how you become more valuable to property managers, to owners, to investors. So if you're a roofer who actually wants big relationships, better clients, more trust in the marketplace, just tweak how you're talking about roofing. Learn how to talk about the asset. Learn how to talk about capital. Learn how to talk about NOI. Learn how to talk about reducing risk. Learn how to talk like someone who understands their owner's world. Because when you do that, you don't need to be selling roofs. You help people make smarter business decisions. Now, if you've stayed here on this video, I just want to say this. The goal is to raise their NOI, which lowers the cap rate, which then increases the valuation of the building. I'm going to give you a couple little formulas. Cap rate equals net operating income divided by property value. Property value equals NOI divided by cap rate. So if you're solving for NOI, NOI equals property value times cap rate. So example, if a building produces $500,000 in NOI, it's worth $10 million. 500 grand divided by 10 million is a 5 cap. So the cap rate is 5. This is the kind of thinking that you want to bring into your roofing business. So if this is something that you really want to do, if you're trying to get in deeper with property managers and ownership groups and, get that kind of stuff out there that actually helps you stand out, follow me. Let's build this thing together. Hope you guys have a great day. Talk to you soon. Take care.